Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Ben Jacobson with Page One Power. I am the digital marketing strategist here, and we're back with another episode of SEO from home. As you can see, I'm on a little bit different location. I'm up out of the way, away from as many people as I can be, but thankfully we are still good to go here. And today we're joined by Stephen Panico. He is the Chief Growth Officer over at BuzzStream. Those of you who do SEO are probably very familiar with BuzzStream, excellent software resource for us. And today he's going to be talking about misconceptions of outreach. As a lot of you know that do outreach, there's a lot of people out there that claim to have best strategies and excellent practices. And we're going to kind of dig through some of those today and kind of break them down a little bit. For those of us who have not been with us on SEO from home before, the series is essentially a pretty free-form format. It allows us to kind of give you guys some interesting information and hopefully some actionable information as well while we're kind of in this unique work from home environment. So if you guys haven't checked out any of our previous episodes, those are all up on our website. So if you want to check those out, it's pageonepower.com. We're going to be live tweeting today. So if you guys want to join the conversation that way, you can always tag hashtag SEO from home and tag at Page One Power. Without any further ado, I'll let Stephen take it from here.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Ben. Like you said, I manage growth at BuzzStream, and I also have worked in a product role there as well for our BuzzStream Discovery product and then the main product. And one of the awesome byproducts of having both of these roles is that I have had literally hundreds of conversations with different teams, ranging from brand new groups that are just getting started in outreach, all the way up to totally professional organizations that consistently rank well, get links, and have a highly performant outreach program. So that has given me some really unique insight into both where teams really do get it right, where they are kind of just nailing a repeatable and consistently great process, as well as some of those missteps that teams will make when they're either just getting started in outreach, or it may be some holdovers from other programs, or sometimes there's some things we'll talk about in a second that seem a lot like common sense, but actually you need to take it either a few steps further, or actually it's common sense that can be misleading. So let me go ahead and just get started here. I'll share my screen and jump into a presentation. There we go. Perfect. Okay, let me move this out of the way so as not to be massively distracting. Great. So there's 4 areas overall that have the most misconceptions, generally speaking, when we talk to groups about outreach. And that goes in the building rapport category, communicating value, scaling your outreach, and actually building up your lists. So let's go ahead and dive right into this first one, which is building rapport. So a lot of rapport building goes a lot like this. Hey, F name, saw your post on X publication talking about Y topic, really loved it. These may be form fields that you're actually just kind of using as merge variables, or you may be doing some lightweight customization on these. But generally speaking, this type of very high level rapport building is what we see. Even worse than this is when we see groups try to kind of customize it in ways that are largely irrelevant for the outreach that they're doing. So, hey, we went to the same school. Awesome. Here's my totally unrelated request. These things can seem like a good idea because you're just finding any possible tangential way to connect with the contact that you are reaching out to for a link. But the problem is that they seem really disingenuous and fake because they are, right? Like, you're not going to generally reach out of the blue and talk to somebody about what school they went to for absolutely no reason. So when somebody gets this cursory personalization, the very first thing that's going through their head is, how are they trying to get one over on me, right? Like, I see that, and if I don't know the person, I'm immediately very suspicious. In fact, when we ran some analysis over a large number of outreach campaigns, I think it was around 20,000 outreach campaigns, we actually found that this type of fake personalization, where it's just really, really either, again, like super cursory, or it is something that's just totally populated by merge variables and obviously not much thought went into it, it decreases the reply rates that people get. So it's not only not helping you to be doing this, it's actually hurting you. So better options for building rapport are always making it relevant. And we kind of talk in terms of contextual relevance. So what would actually, in the real world scenario, like if you were talking to somebody face to face, what really would you be talking to them about? So one of the great ones is talking about the specific business case that you're discussing. You know, if you were reaching out for, you know, a link, what is the value of that link to you and to them? And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. If you want to kind of try to make it based on them specifically, and they've talked about industry related events, or you have interesting insight on the industry or some other, you know, connection there, that's another great option. Another really good one is if you're keeping track of your outreach and you know who you've engaged with in the past, referencing past promotions gives you a little bit of that justification and a little bit of proof for engaging with this person. So if you've had a good, if they've placed a link for you in the past, or if they've published content for you or otherwise worked with you before, and it doesn't have to be just you, by the way, it could also be other people on your team, then that is immediately proof that working with you is valuable and worthwhile. Similarly, if you have shared connections, so if you have placed content on a blog or a publication, or if you are familiar with other influencers in their space, that is another really good opportunity because it gives you that social proof. So when you're reaching out and you mention who else you've been engaging with on this project, if they know those people, then immediately they will be more likely to at least take you seriously. And if all of that fails, if you really can't find a genuine way to connect, like you would if you were face-to-face, or if you were reaching out just about any other kind of standard business case, it's actually better to do nothing. Like I said, if you are reaching out to somebody and you really don't have a connection, trying to fake it is going to hurt you. The data backs it up. So the second area where there's a lot of misconceptions is around communicating the value of your ask. So this is an actual proposal that I got, and then spoiler alert, this is going to be horrible. I got it earlier this year, but it really illustrates the point quite well. So, hi, hope you're having a great day. There's the kind of cursory information. My name is blank. I'm a digital marketing executive, writing to you to publish something on my website. Obviously, they probably haven't even looked at us. If you're open to the proposal, we'd like to provide you with a piece of quality content that will be an excellent fit. Will not be promotional in any way. Yeah, right. And it shall carry a do follow link to our client's website. I appreciate the demand. So what's the issue here? Where is the value, right? I mean, aside from the fact that it's a horribly written email, you know, obviously, again, this is to explain a point, and also I did find it entertaining. Where's the value? I'll tell you where most people think it is. Most people think the value is right here. We would like to provide you with a piece of quality content that will be an excellent fit for your website. I have absolutely no reason. So there's two levels to this, actually. Let's put aside the fact that we get these types of things all the time. And if you are a website, if you're reaching out to a website where you actually would get value from a link, assume that they get these types of things all the time, because they do. Let's put that aside for a second, where just I immediately kind of know what to look for here. And just assume that I'm looking at it based on the content of the email itself. I have absolutely no idea what this content is about. They have done absolutely nothing to justify why it would be an excellent fit for my website. There's no reason whatsoever that I would even look up this company, much less agree to a proposal where I shall do follow backlink to their site. You need to tailor the value that you're communicating to your audience. It's really as simple as that. You have to actually let them know what's in it for them. And a spoiler alert, unless you are an incredibly well-known brand, or a super well-known organization known for the quality of your data, or maybe if you've worked with somebody in the past. Aside from a very narrow set of circumstances, telling somebody that you have content that is high quality is not going to cut it. And even if you give them a little taste of the content, you have to make sure that you are doing the things that actually communicate the value to a specific audience. So let's look at an example. Let's say you're reaching out to personal bloggers, right? And you are trying to get links placed across a wide variety of personal blogs. Why does somebody who run a personal blog, say, as opposed to a corporate blog or a publication, why are they doing it? And what are they hoping to get out of it? Those are the questions you need to answer and then figure out where you can tie in. So in this case, they're all about the passion. Like, sure, they're likely doing it for some monetary incentive as well, but they're doing it because they love what they're blogging about. They really live for it. They have this personal interest, this passion. They probably want to build relationships in the space and be seen as something of an authority figure. And they also want to increase their overall influence. And that may mean actual word of mouth influence. It could mean followers, subscribers, any of those sorts of good things. So when you are looking for ways to tie value to your outreach, you want to demonstrate those shared interests first and foremost. Make sure that they know that you are on the level and you actually care about this as well. Again, referencing previous interactions with him, that's a really good way to kind of build up that relationship even further. These can also be things like, responses to blog comments of theirs, engaging in Twitter conversations, highlighting any of those things is a good thing. Again, showing knowledge of their work specifically is good. And the best way to do that is actually not in the outreach itself. I do find that engaging outside of the outreach is more genuine because, again, you run the real risk of getting into that, hey, saw this post, love X point about it, right? Which is a major turnoff. And then calling out connections with other thought leaders, making sure that they know that you are somebody who is influential in the space, either because you are directly engaged or because you are personally working with other people that they care about. So then once you have all of this, you want to build it into your template. So, here we're referencing these past interactions, showing shared interest, pointing out our shared passions, all of these things. We don't have to go through this specifically, but the idea is map them out and then directly tie them into your template or your email if you're not using template specifically. And by the way, we actually put together a quick cheat sheet for this. If anybody wants to download it, it's one of our resources. We'll share the link after if you don't grab it right here, but we go through kind of a number of these and really kind of show you how to demonstrate value to some common outreach use cases. So let's talk about a third area with some common misconceptions, and that's scaling your outreach. So there's a general formula that people follow, groups that don't tend to have as much success follow. They build a targeted list. They got links, awesome. So now the assumption is that they'll build a list 100 times as big and get 100 times the links, right? And they just scale it however they can. And that is very largely incorrect. There are major, major problems to scaling like this, really like scaling linearly in this way. The biggest ones are that your prospects aren't going to be as targeted, right? Unless you are talking about just a massive niche. There's only so many targeted prospects that are going to be interested in what you're reaching out to them about, to where you can actually very, very closely demonstrate that value. Your emails are not going to be as focused and customized because you're not able to do it with the same level of either specificity or personalization or granularity as you would with a smaller and more targeted campaign. And then the other issue is that teams are going to have to look for a lot of shortcuts, right? You're going to be outsourcing things you probably shouldn't, especially if you are kind of doing one of these 0 to 100 ramp ups. You're going to kind of look for these shortcuts in terms of like personalizing your template. You're going to be using more merge fields. You're going to be doing all of these things that on a one-off basis, or if they're very well thought through, can work out actually very well. But if you are just scaling so much so quickly, it's going to miss things, and you're not going to have that same level of specificity and rapport as you otherwise would. So a much better approach is to actually look at your team's critical mass for targeted outreach. So let's say that you did one of those first campaigns where you got links, and that maybe there was, I don't know, 20, 30 contacts in there that were well researched. Maybe you can bump that up to 70. Maybe you can bump it up higher than that. Play with it, right? But don't just massively expand it and hope for the same results. Get a sense of where that breaking point is, where you can actually do this in a way that demonstrates value and is highly targeted. And then identify those campaign types and those campaign topics that perform really well for you. Then run more of those campaigns focused on those types and topics, rather than building one single huge list or attempting to automate across this massive list. Just do more of them. And you'll find that not only does this let you scale better from a links and just from a general kind of replies and emailing perspective, it's actually going to let you build your team and build your organization in a more sustainable way that isn't just throwing every topic at the wall, which can also, by the way, have a large number of other effects. This is where we see a lot of people, end up in spam folders, get in trouble for mass mailing through Google, all kinds of things. So highly recommend a more targeted but more number of campaigns approach versus maxing out on your list. Speaking of the list, this is the final area we'll talk about today where there's a lot of misconceptions, and that's list building. So we talk a lot about relevance and targeting. That is a phenomenal thing, but when it comes to list building, relevance can get you into trouble a little bit. And this is where I was referencing at the very start of the program. People will look at this and they just won't quite go far enough. So let's look at an example of what I'm talking about. Let's assume that we're promoting a guide to sleeping better, just to give a little bit of context. So looking at this example, is this a good prospect? I know that we're only showing a few paragraphs here. Let's assume that the site looks good. It's not filled with spam, not a ton of ads. Would this information that you have let you know that it's a good prospect? They're linking out to third-party sites. They are talking specifically about sleep and why sleep is important. And the content itself seems well researched and seems good. If you don't go a step further here, you might say that this is a great prospect because in a lot of ways it seems very relevant, but there's some major issues with it. The first one is that all of these links in this article are to .gov sites. So if you are not a .gov site, you are not probably going to get a link either on this article, or if you look and see a similar pattern across other content, even on the site itself. So you want to look for these link patterns. Are they only linking to specific types of organizations or content? And if you don't fit into that, realistically, are you going to be able to break in? But there's a second and even broader issue, which is looking at the linking behavior of the website. So these are all well-researched links. The person who put this content together spent a lot of time finding these because they wanted to make sure that they were backing up what they were saying with high quality information that demonstrates authority on their part. So if they've spent all this time researching these links and then they get an email out of the blue asking for a link or asking for a placement, what are the odds that they're going to respond to that? Generally very low if they're not doing that in other contexts. So a part of this is about going beyond just the single article or the single post when you're looking for link targets, but also looking at the behavior and finding why are they linking to specific things. So what should you be looking for beyond just relevance? There's a few things that will really put you on the right track. Sharing markers are a great one. Do they feature guest posts or accept tips about quality content? That's your in, right? You can then say, okay, I know my specific strategy that I'm going to need to use for them, and that's what I'm going to reference in my outreach. And because they explicitly agree to that, then they're going to be likely to respond, assuming that you have quality stuff. Similarly, if they have a Write for Us section, or otherwise indicate that they are open to third-party posts, that's a great opportunity. Resources, and this doesn't just have to be a resource page. It can be lists of resources within articles. It could be resources that they feature. You know, do they feature infographics from third parties, that sort of thing. But do they leverage third-party resources in any way? That is one of the most clear and obvious examples. And by the way, outreach for that sort of thing has a built-in justification. We were talking about value. The value in that case is that you are bolstering their list of resources, bolstering their content, and probably bolstering their authority, again, if you have good stuff. So just to kind of illustrate the point, for my piece of content, this would be a great target. They mention, call out that there's a guest post right here, or I might have looked and seen that there was a guest author. This is something where I know that if I reach out, there's going to be a good chance that they're going to be interested in what I have to say, and that there's going to be some sort of opportunity for us. That's all I got for right now, guys. Thank you very much. I'd love to answer any questions. By the way, if you want to reach out to me about any of this stuff, you can find me at steven@buzzstream.com, or I have my at Steven Panico Twitter handle. But I know that there may be a few questions, so I'd love to open it up for that.
Awesome. That was fantastic, Steven. Thank you so much for that.
Cool.
Yeah, like you mentioned, we'll just leave it open for a little bit of Q&A here. If you guys have any questions for myself or Steven, definitely pop those in there. As we're kind of wrapping up, we are going to be coming back. We have more episodes of SEO from home planned coming up, so stay tuned for those. This episode, if you guys happen to have to step out for a few minutes or you missed part of it, that will be up online through Page One Power. Typically, we try to get those up in about 24 to 48 hours, so we're hoping to have that up for you later today. Looks like we don't have any questions coming in. Thank you, Steven. This is awesome. I appreciate you being willing to hop on. I know it's kind of short notice and a little bit different circumstances than what we're used to, but we really appreciate hopping in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And everybody hang in there. It's weird times, but we're seeing some really good stuff go out. So there's a lot of opportunity right now as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Stay safe out there, Steven, and we'll have to have you back soon.